the need to revisit the Nigerian state, its foundations, its philosophy, its operations, its systems. It's not an agenda of anybody, any part of Nigeria. It's a Nigerian agenda. There is no Nigerian who knows how badly the country is being run that will oppose a holistic revision of the Nigerian state, foundations, philosophies, and operations. Whatever name you give it, and we don't need to fight over the name, so long as we do what the right thing is. And what the right thing is that we need to put Nigeria on the table and re-examine those things that represent limitations and address them as Nigerians, not as Northerners or Southerners, not as ethnic groups, not as Muslims or Christians, but as Nigerians, because everything that happens in this country affects everybody. Every advantage one part of the country gets creates a disadvantage somewhere else. So we're all victims of a country. And the point is that this is our country, it's nobody else's country. It's not the country of our ruling clique. It's not the country of those who are today in power. It's our country, it's the country of our children. And it's the country we want to improve and leave behind so that it can work better. This is the fundamental philosophy behind our support for a holistic revision. Where we have problems being understood is where we draw attention to some of the limitations behind this national need to address our country. And we've made the position clear. Whether we like it or not, we have almost reached an end of a country that needs salvation, seriously. First, we need to recognize the fact that you cannot reform, revisit, restructure Nigeria unless you have the consent and the participation and the inclusion of every part of this country. And you cannot do that if you keep presenting it as if it is only one part of the country that wants it and another country is resisting it. Because when you do that, that part of the country that you identify as the villain just digs in. Every part of Nigeria has issues with what Nigeria is today. They may not all have the same issues, but we do have issues. So what is happening in this room today is historic. It should go down on record as one of the genuine efforts by citizens and leaders to say, how do we move from blaming each other, fighting with each other, and quarreling over names and methods? How do we move into getting Nigeria revisited in a meaningful way? There are a number of things we have to recognize. Under the current circumstances, we have ideas, we have suggestions, we have a lot of work. But how do we get it into the mainstream? The National Assembly has just revisited or looked at a few sections of the Constitution. The way we are going, none of those things will see the light of day. We will continue with this Constitution that we've all said is fundamentally defective because those in power are not interested in changing it. They're not interested in changing it because it serves their interests. It doesn't serve the interests of the people who elected them. It doesn't serve the interests of those who really feel the pain of what Nigeria is today. They won't change Nigeria because it benefits them. And yet every one of them, from the president to the National Assembly, to the governors, to the state assembly people, everybody who has responsibility under this Constitution to change the Constitution was elected by the Nigerian people. So how do you deal with this seeming betrayal of the genuine need of Nigerians? First, we have to see them out. They will not change Nigeria if they remain in power. If they reproduce themselves in 2023, they will also reproduce the problems that we have. So there's a fundamental political challenge facing all Nigerians, and we need to recognize it. Nobody who aspires to any public office, particularly in a position where he or she can affect the future, should get our votes unless he or she commits to a holistic review of our constitution, our structures, and our systems. Nobody. So if there are aspirants who are listening, I've just given you an idea. The North will not support any candidate who does not publicly and seriously commit to the revision of the structure, systems, and the processes of candidacy. Without reservations. That's the first one. The second one, we need to work to get the country to survive, even between now and when we get rid of the people today who show serious resistance to any substantial change. Because we shouldn't take the survival of this country for granted. We are being run, this country is being run by people who are so reckless about the way they are running it that we are not even sure that we will actually have, we will survive as a country. Some of the things we say ourselves, and we say to each other, are not productive, are not useful, and sometimes are downright dangerous to the survival of this country. Even in the next 1 year, we should stop. We should stop. We need to get this country safely through the elections of 2023. We need to get good leaders who recognize the fact that 2023 will be a historic turning point. Either we turn around and begin the process of reconstructing this country on principles that address our needs as Nigerians, or we sink deeper. When we do sink deeper, everybody will be a victim. There are people who think deeply that there are parts of Nigeria that can just walk away because they don't get what they want. They're making a mistake. No part of this country can just walk away if it doesn't get what it wants. None. Because our roots are too deep, our bonds are too tight, our interests are too identical. When we make the case for a united Nigeria, it is because we recognize the fact that, defective or not, our history, molded by the mistakes we made, molded by the achievements we made, the contribution of the military, the creations of the military, things we don't like about what the military have done, whether we like it or not, they are part of us. We live with them, we live with them. If we have to change what the military did, we have to do it, but we have to do it together. You cannot just walk away because you don't like a bit of what is there. We can work together to salvage this country and change the way it is structured. And we must do that. Otherwise, we will submit to bandits and kidnappers and IPOBs and irregularities and everybody. And nobody will benefit from this. Finally, I think we need to commit to supporting only candidates wherever they come from, who not only commit to convening some serious national constitutional forum, but actually commit to implementing what we recommend. No one should even venture to offer to lead us unless they tell us clearly, and we see it in writing, that one of their first priorities is to allow an unhindered discussion and production of ideas about how this country should be structured. Another Elders Forum supports this initiative. We hope that at the end of the day today, we will commit to supporting the survival of this country, irrespective of the assaults that are being made by insecure and insecurity by our leadership. We need to survive as a country. We need to produce the kind of leader who we can all look up to and say, that's our leader. We need to produce the kind of leader who will commit to our future, the future of our children. And we can do that as Nigerians. We don't need to do it as ethnic groups. We don't need to do it as people from parts of the region. We can do it. Because the truth about it is problems in the southeast are the problems of Zamfara. And Boko Haram is not a northern problem, it's a Nigerian problem. And whatever it is that is fueling IPOP, it's not a Igbo issue, it's a Nigerian problem. It needs to be looked into, and it needs to be resolved. And we need to send messages to our people who are losing hope, that you can actually reconstruct this country. Nigeria has a future. But if some of the people in this room and those outside don't really get up and get involved in the political process, then there is no hope. We will be left with the people that His Eminence, the kind president, is talking about, who casually dish out 100 million naira because they just want to be listed as people who want it. One of them could actually end up being our president. They would have bought this country, and they would buy it simply to continue to make it. The more the ruling class exploits us, the more they set us up to fight against each other. We have no reason to fight against anybody. Finally, the North does not want to fight anybody, does not want anybody to fight anybody. It wants an equal role to play in the manner in which Nigeria runs. We don't have enemies. We don't need enemies. We will accept leadership if it emerges legitimately, constitutionally, and particularly if it is the kind of leadership we'll look at and say we can see some hope in the leadership of that person. That's the kind of Nigeria we're looking for. And we're looking for partners. We hope the rest of the country will work with us. We hope the rest of the country will recognize the fact that there are no victims and there are no villains in this encounter. And if we can tone down the rhetorics and help the political and democratic process to survive this very difficult period, Nigeria has a future. If we fail to do this, the reckless ruling class today, if you can see, 30-something people spending billions and billions of naira of our money just to buy phones to compete. These people will run this country aground. May that never happen in the name of God. Thank you.